Parm Saran is a licensed, registered nurse with nearly 30 years of experience. She specializes in mental health and is an advocate for removing the stigma around mental illness. She is a certified therapist, coach, and motivational speaker. She is a holistic nursepreneur helping thousands with her online program, Pain to Purpose. She believes in creating your own destiny and empowering yourself, helping people live life by design and not by default. She has a YouTube channel where she encourages people to choose faith over fear and speak out against bullying, stigma, abuse, and violence. Her best-selling book, Own Your Life, Create As You Go, has inspired many to live life to its fullest potential. Parm is a wife and a mother, and her everyday message, especially to women, is do it. Because your kids deserve a mother they can brag about. She believes you can change your story to change your life and inspires people to do the same. Parm's motive is to help people find their inner power and be the person they are meant to be. Please welcome a voice of change, Parm Saran, and get ready for her show, Grow Your Greatness.
Hello everyone, welcome to my show, Grow Your Greatness. Hope you all are doing great. Today, we are going to talk about parenting, new parenting styles. When I was thinking about what to say in this episode, like what is that new thing I can share with you all, I was going through a few topics, a few researches on parenting. And as I was going through them, I read through them and I was like, no, I don't agree with that style anymore. This one doesn't apply to me. Go to next. No, I don't think this works. No, this one doesn't work. No, this one doesn't sound right. So I was just going through so many researches, so many topics. At the end, I decided I am going to share with you all my personal parenting experiences. And also then I happened to come across a video, very informative video by Sadhguru. And obviously he's an Indian mystic and he has great advice on parenting styles. He raised his daughter by himself while traveling around the world. So I thought, who could be the best person to follow on the parenting footsteps of? So let's dive into the topic. So what is parenting? Parenting basically that we generally understand as raising our children. Now, how do we raise our children? How should we raise our children? One thing that Sadhguru said, before you raise your children, try raising yourself first, which is so beautiful, because we are going to raise exactly the same type of human beings as we are. You know why? Because children, they don't follow what you say. They don't follow what advice you give. They will always follow what you do because children observe. They are great observers. They always see what our parents are doing, what mom is doing, what dad's doing, anyone else in the family is doing. They observe and that's how they learn. So that's why it's really important that before we decide to raise children, we should be raising ourselves first. Another great thing that I learned from Sadhguru's video was like children come into this world through us, but not from us. That means we are a medium for the children to come into this world, but we don't own them. They're not our property. They are human beings in themselves. They are a whole life in themselves. When we start thinking that children, because we gave birth to them, so we think we are more intelligent than them, that's a mistake. Because all we did was we came into this world few years before them, but that doesn't make us any experts. That doesn't make us intelligent than them. That doesn't make us more human than them. we have experiences which we can guide them based on our experiences, but that doesn't mean that they are going through the same experiences or they are going to have the same perception as us. So they are our responsibility, not our property. We are responsible for letting them live the life as they choose to live, because bringing them into world, that is being parents. That is a privilege. So we should cherish that. And instead of trying to control them, we should liberate them. I always say that give feathers to your children to fly. Let them explore the sky. Let them explore the world. But also remind them that they have someone here. They have a home to that they can always come back, so that our children know that we are there if anything happens. Chances are there are going to be external influences, there are going to be influences around the world which might affect them. Our, as parents, is responsibility that we are trying to guard them against those evil influences, against those wrong influences. But that should be done by being their friends, not by being their bosses. If we are trying to be a boss of our children, what happens? We all work, right? We all go to work and we all have bosses. How many of us like our bosses? Not many. If our boss is bossing around, right? If our boss, being a boss, is still friendly, they understand us, they create a kind environment to work with, then we might like that boss. Otherwise, we always fear from bosses. So, that same applies into our homes. If we are trying to be bosses for our children, children are not going to feel comfortable to talk anything with us. And chances are they will go to someone outside, and they may not give them the right advice. And then we say our children have fallen into the wrong company. Why? Because they didn't get that kind environment at home where they feel secure to talk anything about, to share any feelings they are going through, to share any life experiences they might have been through. So I know people say that you can't be friends with your children, but I don't agree with that. Unless you are friends with your children, they are not going to share what they are going through in their lives. So in order to have a conducive relationship, in order to have a healthy relationship with our children, we have to make sure that we are not forcing our own beliefs, our own dreams, our own wishes on our children. Let them be what they want to be. During the life path, if they make a mistake by doing something, let them learn. That's how we all learn. If you are giving them a proper paved path, then what's happening? They are not going to be learning anything new. They're not going to be experiencing life to the fullest. It's just going to walk in the same alleyway every day and then finding nothing new. That's no fun. Unless you're trying to explore a couple of new alleyways every day when you go for a walk, then you find new nature, new paths, new ways, and you meet new people. The same applies to the life. Let our children enjoy their life in their own way. Let them be the way they want to be. Do not focus on grades. This is the number one mistake our South Asian families do. We are forcing our children, you have to be number one, you have to have 90%, you have to have 98%. Unless you do that, you are no good. What is that doing? They are learning to not be happy at anyone else's success. They are only happy if they are number one. Everyone should be number 2, number 3, number 4, number 10. That means they are learning to trying to be above everyone else, and whosoever is beneath them, they are learning to look down on those people, which isn't a good virtue to teach to our children. Healthy competition is good as long as we are trying to teach them that do what's best for you, do whatever you can do, help everyone around you, learn from everyone else around you. Do not just focus on the percentage, because we all know that this education system is not teaching people, not teaching our children to have new perceptions. It's not teaching our children to be creative. It's not teaching our children to learn new ways to live a life. School education is teaching our children to earn a living, but not. It's teaching our children how to earn a life, not to live a life. That's what we have to make sure that our children learn while they are growing up. Most of the time, I hear parents saying that my daughter or my son is a teenager and they are paying. Why we are saying that? Because we don't as parents understand how to go through those changes that our child is going through from infant to toddler, teenager, and then to adult. We don't know how to manage those changes within ourselves that our child is going through. Now, it was something beautiful that Sadhguru said that when our children are crawling, we crawl with them, right? We go onto all our fours onto the ground. We crawl with them. Then why, when our children are trying to explore new ways of life, why don't we explore new ways of life with them? That is the problem when parents say teenagers give us pain, because we are not trying to understand our teenagers, what their point of life is, what their point of view is on the life itself. We as parents are sometimes so protective of our children that we don't want to let it go. When they are teenager, when they're little, that's fine, because they can't survive in that environment independently. They don't know the safety at that time because they are little in body. But when they are growing up, when they are growing into teenager, into adults, they know the ways. But if we are still trying to protect them too much, that's when the friction happens. Because children think that we are not letting them explore, letting them feel the life as they want to. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't guide our children. We should. We should guide our children. We should guard our children, as I said earlier, from outer forces, from environmental factors, from evil influence. But let them fly. Give them wings. Let them explore. And as parents, what I feel is my wish is that my children be a better human being than I am. And I think that should be every parent's wish. So now, if we are forcing them to follow our footsteps, do exactly what we did, how can we expect them to be better than us? Make sense? That's why we should trust our children, put full faith in them, let them know that we trust you, that you will do the right thing. And if at any point in life you are confused about anything, we are here. We can sit together, talk about it, and find a way out of any situation. But trust is a really important component. Most of the time, what happens when we as parents, we haven't healed from our own childhood traumas, we haven't healed from what we have gone through in our own life, we tend to bleed it onto our children. That's why so many parents are like, oh, I had the desire to become a doctor. Now I'm going to ask my daughter to become the doctor. I'm going to ask my son to become the doctor. I'm going to ask them to fulfill my wish that I couldn't fulfill myself. What is that? That's not healthy at all. Always remember your own childhood. Remember how you were parented. If your parents didn't trust you, If your parents was very disciplined, very strict, bossing you around, if you were raised in a very strict, fearful environment, did you like that? No, I wouldn't have liked that. I didn't like that. You wouldn't have liked that. You didn't like that. Why are we expecting our children to like the same patterns? Let's give them something new to explore. So always try to give your children a loving, kind atmosphere in the house. As I said earlier, children learn by observing. So from when they are little, from when they're born, at least till the age of 18, we should not let our children see any anxiety, worry, or fear in our home environment, because they are going to observe that, they're going to learn that, they're going to put that into their subconscious mind. Always make sure, if you as parents, husband and wife, if you don't have a solid, compassionate, loving relationship within yourself, don't let your children know that. That can break your children. It does. It affects so negatively on their psychology, on their personality. I have so many of my clients, when I go into their history, these clients who are living in depression, living in anxiety, living in PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, living in low self esteem, low self confidence, when I go into their history, what I find, they have broken families, they have separated parents. All they observe when they were little was beating, violence, yelling, anger, nothing else. So these things affect the personality of our children. They may not show you when they are little, but it's gonna stay with them until they become adults. Then they attract the same relationship into their lives. Those relationships, we know that they don't stay, they don't exist, they don't go for very long. Try not to yell, fight in front of your children. Show as much love, kindness, and compassion as you can, so that that's what they can learn, that's what they can develop, that's what they can attract in future. And very important, never, never, ever compare your children to anyone around. Never compare two siblings with each other. Never compare your children to your brother, sister's children. Never compare your children to your friend's children. Never compare your children to your neighbor's children, because that is affecting your child's self-confidence when you compare them. Try to raise a solid, self-confident individuals by trusting them, telling them you love them, showing kindness and compassion, and letting them be responsible for the decisions they make. There are 4 tips to have a bright future for your children, to raise your children as superstars, as good human beings. Number 1, create a conducive, kind environment at home. As I said earlier, children observe and learn, and that's going to affect their psychology, their mind development, and their personality development. That's going to affect what kind of adults they become, what kind of human beings they become. Number 2, be what you want your children to be. If you want them to be successful, show them how to be successful. Do that. Now, if you are sitting at home, you go to work, come home, sit in front of TV, watching TV till you have your dinner and then go to bed, what are you teaching your children? The same. If you are spending that little extra time when you come home with your children, or you are reading a good book, that's what your child's seeing you doing, that's what they're gonna do. Reading parents create reading children. So do what you want your children to do. Be what you want your children to be. Be a role model for them. Number 3, with the technology, we all know that everyone, including us as parents, we are tied to our phones and laptop and iPads and whatever. And the same thing kids are doing. Take some time to go out in the nature and take your children with you. Whatever we don't learn from anywhere else, we learn that from nature. From nature, we learn from sun how to spread the light, warmth, without expecting anything in return. From earth, we learn how to give without expecting anything in return. And number 4, give your children responsibility, not restrictions. When you're giving them restrictions, they are restricted in the way they think, they feel, they express. Give them responsibility. Give them a month worth money. Ask them to go shopping if they're kind of at that age that they can go out and shop. Give them responsibility to do 1 week's grocery shopping. That will teach them how to budget, how to spend, how to save. That will give them extra responsibility, and that will also boost their self-confidence. That will help them to know that you trust them, that you have faith in them. My daughter, she drives on her own, but initially I was, as a mom, was very scared to let her take car on her own. So I'll make an excuse. Can I come with you? And so I'll sit in the passenger seat. I mean, she's a really good driver. I'll still sit in the passenger seat and go with her wherever. So one day she said, Mom, I need to take car, and can I go on my own? I said, yes, you can. Because by that time I had learned that she is a very careful driver. And then she asked her dad, and my husband said, yeah, sure, you can take the car. So she did. We were so happy. We were so proud. And you know what she said to me? She said, Mom, thanks for trusting me. Which was so eye-opening for me. This is how children see things. Me letting her go on her own was a trust factor for her. It's so beautiful. It's so wonderful how children the way that sometimes we don't even think. That's why we can learn so much from our children. We don't always have to focus on teaching our children, because maybe our children are more intelligent than us, which I actually feel that for my children. I feel that my children, they are very much sensible than I am. They're very much intelligent than I am, and they are very good human beings, very kind, very compassionate, and I feel so proud that they are my children. I wish this to every parent, that you should all be feeling proud of your children, and I wish all the children that they should be feeling proud of you being their parents. This is all for today. Till we meet again, keep smiling.